Finally.
Welcome, everybody. Uh, it is
January 17th.
the finale of the fall 2022 season. That right, baby? It is 2023, and we are doing the finale of last season now because Gundam decided it wanted to hold out an extra week, and then scheduling. And plus, we have been trying to get something else ready, which we might have to stop stream and then go live again with a new stream, just so it VODs correctly, because oh boy, do I not want those two things VODed together.
Correct.
We will maybe, depending on how tonight goes and how long it takes, be doing a nice little episode of How Good Is. But welcome. There are going to be spoilers for our final three shows: Bocchi the Rock, Chainsaw Man, and Mobile Suit Gundam: The Witch from Mercury. So if you have not finished any of those or seen any of those, you should go do that. Watch all three of those, go finish those, and then wait in pain like we do for Gundam, and either or go read Chainsaw Man. And I guess maybe Bocchi too. But listen to its Spotify playlist, you know. So we'll make it as quick as possible. Let's try to keep it a little condensed, not too much all over the place. Things I've done. Mason and I finished Volume 7 of Ruby last night.
Yeah.
We'll be doing a video soon on that before we go into Volume 8. To talk about Volume 4 through 7, which will be a fun time to try to remember what all happens in 4 through 7. In what particular way, because it's a lot. But hey, it'll work nicely. I'd be watching Volume 7. I really like it. Big fan of Volume 7 still. Excited to see if 8 screws anything up or not. And excited to see if Ruby will ever continue, given the current condition of Rooster Teeth. In addition to that, Mason and I have also been playing some Vampire Survivors. I'm caught up on my achievements outside the DLC that I have not bought, and will eventually buy to do. Mason is exploring that game. That is a way to describe it.
I finally ended up getting that, killing that boss in the Bone Zone.
Yes. Ball of Bones.
The Bone Zone.
The Ball of Bones.
I have not seen any fucking bosses yet, except for the vampire.
Mm-hmm.
The Grim Reaper, rather, I think it is.
Do not think there is a lot else game-wise for me, but I have the blessing for once in my life of finishing anime. It is incredible. What a great feeling. Who here hasn't finished Reincarnated as a Sword, or did we all actually finish it?
I've literally just finished these three.
It's a good last episode. Is all I'll say. It basically I think it solidifies Amanda as an actual really great character for the show. In the future. Also, Wolf. But that was partially there last time.
Wolf.
It kind of like it retcons her being awful into giving her a reason as to why she was awful in that first episode.
An even more valid reason for why she maybe was awful than the kind of one she has, which is she is a mother. Michael, by the way, I want you to keep in mind when you do watch that episode that I immediately watched it right after the last episode of Gundam. So just imagine what that was like to watch the last episode of Gundam and then hop right into Sword and have how that episode opens in my face. I really like Sword, excited for its second season when we get it. I kept watching some Eminence in Shadow. It does some funky things in some of the immediate episodes that follow where we were. When he goes in the door, John, that episode where they go through the door, or the episode after it, probably is more apt, I think, because they go through the door at the end of the episode, and then the next episode is like that whole shtick. Those cuts in that episode are really clean. They're really nice cuts that they do, where they will like constantly do scene transitions by shattering the past scene. It's really sick. They don't really got a good reason to do it besides the fact that it looks cool as fuck. There are some interesting things going on in that show, that I was not ready for. I'm not as far as John is, though. And then, I had the honor of getting to watch some Season 2s that have rolled out, this season. I've watched the first episode, Defense Build. sure is defense build still. It also sure very much was something that was released clearly around Christmas time early as a special, but is still setting up for the next season. God, I forgot how insane that game is. And that show, the game inside the show, Bofuri's very good. I also watched the first 2 episodes of season 2 of Misfit.
You were losing your mind about it the other night.
Episode 1 is a first episode. To get you back into it. It's one. If you do not remember what happens in the first season of Misfit, picking that show back up is going to give you a brain aneurysm because it is just proper noun, thing. Important plot device that you have to remember. To the point that there are some people who by the end of episode 2 are like, I don't know what the fuck's going on, and I just rewatched the first season, and I went, you need to pay a tiny bit more attention then, because I haven't watched the first season in 2-3 years, and I at least have an understanding of almost everything. There was like one thing I needed to double check what the fuck they were talking about. I still hate that show for having a character whose name is Misha, and a character whose name is Misha with like a C in it, and like Misha without it. They're very fucking similar, and they're both important. One of them's not a throwaway. They're both very important, and I hate them. Episode 2 is phenomenal. It is exactly what I like from Misfit, as it is an entire episode of the main character Anos and his entire party doing, like, they basically split the party up and then have them each do different fights, and the bad guys in each of the fights are like, you are going to lose because we have outsmarted you this time. And they go, but what if? And hear me out, we're just too powerful for you to handle. There are a couple of those, one of those moments where it was the turnaround, I was like, yeah, no, I called this. This one was the most obvious dumb bullshit, which is a guy going, oh no, you attacked me, but you see, every time you attack me, my shield will actually return the damage to you. So, to really get at me, you would have to destroy the shield. And the guy on Autos' side goes, yeah, I can do that. And he immediately breaks part of the shield. And the guy goes, actually, I fucking lied about my power set, you idiot. Breaking the shield kills you. And the character dies. And you look at that screen and he goes, oh, he doesn't know that character can die multiple times. He doesn't just die once and he's gone. You gotta kill him a couple of times.
That's
okay.
crazy.
I know where that's going.
Imagine a manga where it tells you how many times the character died. That'd be crazy.
Imagine a Pixar animated, a
weird.
DreamWorks animated film that tells you how many times a character can die by the bells ringing. I need to watch that movie. Puss in Boots Good is what I've heard.
Yes.
The Anos fight in episode 2 I'm going to talk about because I can't not talk about it, and I explained it to Mason as it was happening because it literally made me verbally lose my shit. Yes. Which is, the guy Anos is standing against goes, I can't beat you. I know I can't beat you. In a one-on-one fight that is like a physical altercation. However, a game of a mental challenge, perhaps I can beat you in. And the guy lays out all these rules. He's like, if you fail to answer my riddle, your magic will be sealed off for 5 seconds. Hopefully that'll be enough time for me to do all my shit. You'll have 18 guesses to solve my riddle. And at the end of all the rules, Anos goes, yeah, cool, okay, but I'm gonna make one change. I'll do it in 8 guesses. And I'm like, you motherfucker, I both love and hate you so much. It's the most you shit on the planet. So very good. Still a great show. And I watched the first 2 episodes of Nagatoro, Second Attack. That show's absolutely adorable now that their relationship is established as like the two of like as it's basically just a relationship, even if they haven't flat out spelled it out. The first episode does have a little bit of content that is very clear, like, oh, okay, we're getting this out of the way now, so that I don't have to deal with it later in the season. Got it. I think I explained to someone the first episode very much has some foot fetish moments where you're like, we're doing this today. And then episode 2 is absolutely wonderful. I don't think there's a single moment of that episode I disliked. They go and draw at the zoo, and then they do a cute scene where he has Nagatoro draw with him. And then Nagatoro tells him to go stand closer to the sloth to draw it, and she is drawing behind him, and it's very clear that she is drawing him instead of the sloth. And it's very adorable. I also shared with Mason, there is a track that plays, I think twice already, in season 2 that I think played once at the end of season 1 that is absolutely incredible. It's such a good track.
Yeah, it's really good.
It really is like this nice, like, little somber, like, peaceful little, like you'd be in the forest of an RPG little soundtrack, just like having a good time. I very much enjoyed that. I think that's everything for me. I don't think I'm missing. I'm watching something that I can't talk about right now because I'm going to be doing content on it later. That is horrible, but not bad enough that I've dropped it yet. I am only 4 episodes into that. It has gotten worse every episode. I can't believe that I didn't think it was possible, but that is what ecchi does, I guess, for me. Yeah, it's a tried Love Tyrant. Horrible. I can't wait to talk about it, or I have to acquiesce to it and be like, well, it's also a parody, so some of the stuff I have to imagine they're doing on purpose, and it's bad on purpose. And some of it does make me laugh. Unfortunately, it does have good bits. There is a bit in Love Tyrant that I've gotten to. Probably my favorite one is ignoring the first half of this bit, which is atrocious and I hated it, which is the main female lead and the female character who is in love with her older sister sneak a peek into the woman's changing room to take a picture of the one girl's sister. And then the main female girl texts the photo of her to the main male lead, and it's like, I just figured if we saw it, you should see it. And then the older sister walks out into the scene, and the main character sees her coming, and just absolutely turns around and yeets his phone into the sky. And it is a very funny bit. I actually really got a kick out of that. It's almost like the show can do good comedy when it's not pushing the boundaries of how far you can take a harem ecchi. The answer is as far as physically possible and beyond, maybe. I think that's everything outside of the bit of VLR I've watched Mason play.
Yeah.
I'm also I just realized, I think because I haven't talked about it at all since, I'm like at the end of Chained Echoes. I just haven't sat down to beat the final boss. I have literally, I think, like 3 challenges I have to do. Beat the final boss and a super boss, and the super boss is one of those challenges I have to beat. Mason watched me try it, he kicked my ass.
Yeah.
Which is funny, because Mason watched a couple other fights kick my ass. That fight really kicked my ass.
Yeah.
I don't know how I'm doing that yet, so I put the game down for a bit. It's been a while. How about you guys?
I mean, so I'll go. Let's see. Sean and I watched Ruby Volume 7. I'm not sure what my favorite volume is so far. 7, 4, and 3 are probably my top 3. But like, it's tough. I think it might be 4 just because of the grim that's at the end of it, and also that bit at the very beginning with John that fucking hurts. Ow. God, I'm tearing up just fucking thinking about it. Jesus Christ. What else have I done? I sat down and I finally went and watched Steven Universe Future last night. I watched all 20 episodes of it. That show fucking hurts me. Steven Universe might beat out Avatar as my favorite show now, to be honest. Because that show is just like, comfortable. Oh, why am I crying? Ow. It just hits very hard, and it's very like it hits me in a very personal way. What else have I done? I've been playing Vampire Survivors, like Sean said. I've been playing VLR, Virtue's Last Reward. That's been something. Siggy Fido. Ushikoshi is on his bullshit very quickly in this one compared to in 999. But I'm here for it. I don't know what else has been going on really. Like, I've mostly just been doing that stuff. I haven't really like watched anything else. I finished up non-anime or cartoon thing, weirdly enough, I watched Winning Time, which is a show on HBO Max about the LA Lakers and the start of their Showtime era, which is essentially what started modern basketball. And it's really good. Highly recommend that one. It's funny, it's very adult, but it's very, very good. And also, the actor who plays Urban Magic Johnson is from my hometown, which is very cool. But aside from that, really not a whole lot. John, Michael.
I did a couple things. I've been getting into a lot of Pokemon competitive VGC. It's fun. I made a couple teams that have been fun to use. One is a dog team. With the bread dog. It's pretty funny. You just use fire attacks. It makes bread dog tankier. Bread dog's not the star of that team. It's like the mouse. And Armor Rouge and stuff. But the other team I made is like a sand team that now has turned into a Garganacl team. For those who don't know, Garganacl is one that looks like Minecraft. It's the big block guy with sand, and it has exactly one move, Salt Cure, and 3 annoying as fuck moves: Protect, Wide Guard, and Recover. This thing with like its stats and stuff is like incredibly hard to take down. With Terra makes it even more difficult, and just sticks around and just like slowly chips away at everything in the field. And Salt Cure does a quarter HP every turn for water and steel types. So if you live 4 turns, you kill them. So it's an attack, chip 1, protect, chip 2. You have leftovers to heal up, and then you just have to get one more like turn of survivability, and that Pokemon just dies on the field. It's really cool. Yeah, that team's really fun to use. I'm enjoying that. I finished Sword. I finished some other stuff. I read the latest novel of what is that one called? A Realist Hero that came out a while ago. Hatsune Miku is God. That's all I have to say.
Hmm.
Okay.
You don't want to know. The show gets wild. It goes into like theories of like super advanced societies basically and things like that, and like space exploration. But like, what happens when humanity solves all of its problems? It just gets bored, and turns into neats. But spoilers aside, I went and read all of Chainsaw Man. I'm gonna keep my opinions based off of the anime because obviously I did this after watching the finale and stuff. But I read Chainsaw Man. I finished all part 1. Then went, oh, I'll take a break for part 2, and then I got bored, and I'm like, okay, I'll read part 2, and now I'm caught up. That's been a trip.
Yeah.
Outside of that, have I done anything else? Work. Started playing a bit of Vampire Survivors too. That's fun. Still playing Stardew. It's a great time with my Steam Deck. It's good. But yeah, a lot of Pokemon, a lot of work. What about you, Michael?
So like a week ago, my family went on a skiing trip. That was fun, and during that skiing trip, I watched. I don't know how I never watched the movie before. I watched Scott Pilgrim versus the World for the first time.
Oh,
I watched that movie drunk, and I don't know if that made the movie better or the best thing. Because God, is that movie a fucking trip normally?
yeah.
And it is even funnier when you are not fully there, and shit is just happening on that screen.
That
movie's amazing.
That movie's wonderful. Especially when if you go into it knowing that Scott is a horrible fucking person.
Yeah, it's certainly an absolute time of a movie. And then earlier today, I watched another movie. I watched Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. That movie, as everyone online is saying, is amazing. It is such a good movie. I will say it certainly feels in like that weird camp of not exactly a kids movie, but certainly not like in a movie for adults, because it certainly has like its kiddie moments where it explains the very obvious message right after the scene happens.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still really good when it does the thing. You're like, oh, this is really good. It's a good message here. Got a good scene, and then a character goes, oh, so it's like that, and it's like, oh, why'd you do that? I didn't need that. It was very clear what this character moment was supposed to be. But outside of movies, during the winter sale, or right at the end of the New Year's winter sale, whatever, I bought Ultra Kill.
Ooh.
That game is an absolute fucking trip. It was certainly. I imagine if Doom 64 was made by a guy on acid.
Oh boy.
The whole time. And also, he's just a big fucking memer. So this game has a bunch of like secret levels, and they're all just not the base game. They're all just completely different things. One of them is a horror game. One of them is a visual novel. One of them is a Crash Bandicoot level.
This game's crazy.
The game's amazing, and it's just like Doom, but like on fucking steroids. As the game explains itself very well in the opening, the dialogue bit, which is humanity is gone, blood is fuel, hell is full. You are a robot. You heal off of blood, murder shit, have fun. The game is fucking bonkers and amazing. I haven't finished it yet. I haven't beaten the final boss, and then I need to perfect 10 stages, which is to do the stage, get an S rank, and also not die during it, which is difficult to unlock an even harder boss. Yeah, game's great. I also started playing a really dumb MMO because a streamer I watched said, "Hey, you guys should play this game." So I'm currently doing the 20-hour long tutorial because it's an MMO and that's how those work. I started playing Lost Ark.
Oh.
The game's certainly something. It's not bad.
There were a lot of
just-
things you could have said
it's
that
just a
would have
lot of
been worse.
boring.
You are
Yeah.
correct.
See, like I could play Final Fantasy 14.
Well,
greatest game
that
of
would have
all
been
time.
good.
Yes, you should. You absolutely
Michael
should.
needs to be able to have a life still.
Yeah, see, the issue
Look.
is that game's going to be another thing I have to spend money on at some point. And I
But,
already
like-
spend all my money on Destiny.
But not
2.
right away. That's true.
So, like, not right away.
mm.
You can get a solid like 80 hours of content out of the main story. Actually, probably more if you want to get every class to level 60, because that's something you can do.
Yeah. And this game has one of my issues that I have with a lot of like MMOs with the style, which is that characters are locked onto servers. So if you want to play with people, you have to go, okay, what server do you play on? And it's like annoying. It's like, okay, now I need to. So if you started a character somewhere else, you have to then restart the game on a different server, essentially. And it's kind of eh.
Do you know how mad I would be if I went to go play Monster Hunter World with people and if they were on and it was like, they're on a different server, make an entirely new character.
Yeah, like some stuff will save over, but you need to do this entire like intro quest line
Yeah.
on every character.
God.
See, and that's why I like 14, because 14 goes, oh, they're on a different server? Are they on the same data center? Which they probably are if if they're in the same country as you. Cool, just go to the other world. It's fine. You can still play with them.
I mean, maybe you can go to the other stuff. I don't know. I haven't gotten through it yet, and I haven't started a second character
Fair.
on an account where the thing happened. So,
Mhm.
I'm also. I remember this because you mentioned Chain Echoes. I'm also at the final boss of Doom Eternal.
Nice.
Because the final stage is 3 parts. I did the first 2 and went, okay, I'm gonna go into this final fight. I have to go eat dinner and haven't opened the game since because I started playing Ultra Kill.
Yeah.
Because Ultra Kill is a banger. I also downloaded Raft because that game is a silly little, almost like a little survival game. And boy, is it the grindiest motherfucking game in the world at the start. You just sit there and have to grind to not die right at the beginning for the first like 3 hours of the game. It's just before you get like any of the actual stuff, you're like, okay, I have to constantly make food and constantly be giving myself more water or else I will die. And with watching Scott Pilgrim, I bought Scott Pilgrim, the
Hey.
game. I tried to play through the first level once, lost, and haven't opened the game since because Ultra Kill.
Yeah, that game's hard, by the way.
Yeah, it was a lot. I was not ready to have 3 lives to do a 20-minute long level into a boss fight.
No, like the only way that game is like I've played that game with 4 people, and that game's very cool where it goes, haha, you're playing with 4 people, we'll scale the difficulty up as well.
We
And
love it.
And it makes the game fine, but it's still hard.
I imagine. Yeah, other than that, don't think I've done anything else. I caught up on a bunch of my manga over the past like few days. You guys should read Blue Box. It's very good.
I read the first chapter. I need to reread that first chapter and then keep reading it.
Yeah, also, Kaiju number 8's also very good, but that's getting an anime, so like you can avoid that
In a
one.
year.
Oh,
Yeah, no, it's fine. In a
With
year
the
we'll have
spray?
like 5 more chapters, maybe.
True.
that reminds me. Just a one quick thing that I wanted to mention. In watching Steven Universe Future, things that I was not expecting for 1000, Alex. There's a kaiju fight in
Let's
Steven
go.
Universe Future, and it's kind of wild. And it comes out of nowhere, but it also makes sense, and I'm here for it because it's really sick.
So one thing I'll say, one thing I forgot, and then one thing I want to add about one of the shows I watched, Nagatoro season 2, episode 2 ends on Senpai getting caught trying to look into Nagatoro's house window because no one answers the door for him as he comes to check on her while she's sick. And her older sister finds him, and I am very excited for this next episode of Nagatoro. I also played D&D, in which we played a 4-hour long boss fight. That was 8 rounds of combat, give or take. 4 hours, 8 rounds, sounds about right. You know, only realistically, a couple minutes. Not even.
Yeah.
In game time. We love it. Support smaller tabletop games. John, did you get to talk while I was gone or not yet?
I did. We're good.
Okay. We're ready to go then?
Sure.
The reminder is, spoilers inbound. There's no power ranking. Because if you don't know, folks, there's also no screenshots because it's very hard to screenshot from these last couple episodes. And a couple of things I'd just rather not this time. We're a little late notice too, didn't want to have to prolong us a lot longer. If you don't know how the finale of Save or Slay works, boy do I have ways to tell you. Welcome. We have a final ranking. In the final ranking, we will be able to choose each show and put it as 1, 2, or 3. The show we put as 1 will get 3 points, 2 will get 2, 3 will get 1. The show we consider number 1 for the season, we put as number 1, and it will receive points accordingly. That means, at most, a show can receive 12 points. That also means, at minimum, a show can receive 4 points. Also means that things can technically tie in weird, funky ways. We will deal with that when it comes to it. It's just the way it is. Oh boy. Isn't it crazy? Chainsaw Man's not first. That's a lie. It's Gundam.
Which is crazier.
Yeah. So Gundam waited a week. An extra week to just kind of, I don't know, get ready to murder us emotionally, in its entirety. I argue that there are like 3 or 4 sets of scenes this episode, including the end stinger, that in my opinion are emotionally shattering to witness. They're just not fun to engage with. We have the attack, continuing the terrorist attack on the space station thing to try to kill Delling. Where to start? Suletta is spotted by one of the 2 Earthian mobile suit Gundam pilots. I'm trying to remember which part of that is the important part in this show. It's the Gundam part of it. Sorry.
Yeah.
They are Gundam pilots. They have Gundams. They are also using real ammunition. Gwel's dad decides, you know what? Fuck these people. They think they can attack me after I was trying to help them. I'm gonna go kick their shit in. We'll get back to that and how well it goes for him. We get a scene where the Earthian terrorist group is attacking different parts of the base, and there is a part where they are like at the hangar, and Nika and the rest of the group from the school, or the rest of the Earth House, are kind of like, oh no, we're going to fucking die. We need to leave. And they're like, but Suletta and Minori are not here. We can't leave. At which point everyone's like, fuck it, we gotta get out of here. It's not safe. And Nika decides to do fucking call sign with a flashlight off the like the ship's control room. At which point she also gets caught by one of the other members of Earth House, the really shy one who's like afraid of everything. Can't wait to unpack that next season. We obviously knew she had ties. That it isn't something that's a surprise to us. It was kind of a matter of just when they were gonna pull it. Minori runs into her father and like 3 dudes. The terrorists infiltrate the base and just fucking kill engineers. It is kind of the moment you go, oh, okay, we do not care who's in the way, do we? I thought we were here to kill Delling. No, we're just gonna kill anyone if they possibly are in our way. Those guys were not armed. They were very much engineers. And they are very dead. Prospera and the gang there are, they're like, what should we do with the Gundam? And she's like, Suletta will come. And they're like, why? How? And she's like, Suletta will come. She will.
My daughter. She will come.
The Gundam speaks to her. And so Suletta crawls through some vents and gets herself there. And by gets herself there, I mean she is hiding behind a wall. And before we get to this scene, let's not forget what's going on elsewhere with Jedrick's dad, where he is flying through the air with some of his men, and they're getting absolutely owned. And then Gwell goes, they're talking about a Gundam? They're talking about Suletta? I can't fucking die here. I'm not staying in this fucking ship. And he steals one of their mobile suits, and flies out. At which point, he recognizes his family's model trying to shoot at him and kill him because he is now in an enemy mobile suit. To which he tries to radio comm to tell them that he is an ally, not an enemy, and who he is in relation to his father. At which point he has no choice but to kill his attacker, in a very cool fight scene. And then he finds out it's his father. Trauma number 1. This should be a satisfying scene. Gwell killing his father, for all intents and purposes, should probably have been a satisfying, or could have been a very satisfying collection and, like, direction to take his character. But no, not here.
Oh, I almost fucking forgot he killed his dad. That's how much happened afterwards.
Yeah,
And
right?
that happened at the end of the fucking episode.
Really, really great scream, from, Gwell's voice actor here.
Yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. If you scream in space, yes, they will hear you. So Suletta is hiding behind a wall, as she hears the terrorists around the corner, and then, I don't know, kicks the ground too loud. I'm not sure what she does. I don't know what she could have knocked over, or what she could have... I thought she bumped something. And then she eeps. But she does eep at some point, and the terrorist starts to move closer to her, and then her mom and the one dude who works with her mom just absolutely obliterate the terrorists right in front of Suletta, just bullets through heads. And Suletta's like, Mom, you just killed a person. You just murdered a person in front of my eyes. And Prospera's like, honey, darling, it's fine. And she's like, no, and Suletta has a full-on panic attack. At which point Prospera's like, darling, listen to me. Get in the Gundam. It'll all be fine. Only you and the Gundam can save us.
Prevent forest fires. Oh yeah, that one.
If you run, you gain 1.
If
you move forward, you gain 2.
You see, honey,
you gain 1. If you murder, you gain 2.
See, honey, if I didn't murder them, I would have only gained 1. But since I murdered them, we gained 2. Now get in the robot and go gain 2.
And Ariel. Therefore,
you get the fucking robot.
This is the most.
You could save your mom. You could save your friends. You could save your girlfriend.
Fiance. This is the most sleeper agent activated code I've ever seen of her going. If you run, you gain 1. If you move forward, you gain 2. And Suletta goes, yes, I understand, mother. Into the Gundam I go.
Eyes, she's like, oh god.
Yeah, no, she is
mother,
full losing it until she is calmed down with something that she's familiar with and reassured.
Ingrained in her.
Yeah, and so she gets in the Gundam, and we're about to get some cool space fights. But before that, Minori and her father. I don't remember what exactly happens to them. Does the area they're in get shot up? Does something crash into them?
It explodes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Gundam hits the place near there,
Yeah.
and then like shrapnel.
What's important is that Delling is he's bleeding out. He ain't doing good. And he looks at his daughter and he goes, leave me, go, live. And she goes, why the fuck would I do that? And he goes, it's the thing me and your mother talked about, that as long as one of us is always alive, that is the goal. And she goes, you're a fucking asshole for doing this now, and also you're a coward for leaving her. And then she starts to treat her father.
Notably, he takes the shrapnel because he was protecting her and like covering her from the shrapnel.
Yeah, he was good dad moment. Which he was really turning around towards the end half of this season to not being an absolute shitbag dictator that I thought was the main issue of the show.
Which is
crazy.
Which is wild considering we started the show with him murdering an entire space station of engineers.
Including Soletta's father.
Yeah.
That will be a sore spot to talk about, but I guess we have a couple of those given how this episode goes. Soletta goes out into space and 1v7s, 2 of which are Gundams.
Yeah.
This fight is sick. Just everything about this fight's really cool. She, like, mega lasers and, like, fully eviscerates the legs of a couple of mobile suits. At which point, the government's armada starts to come in, the Gundam hunters, the witch hunters, to which or 2 girls from the terrorist group are like, hey, we gotta go, or else we're gonna have to fight all of them. And they're like, god damn it, I like to play with Suletta. She is fun, and she could kill me. That is interesting. So they leave, and then Ariel goes, targeted found, and Suletta flies over to Minore. We don't get to really see that until post-credit sequence, where Suletta pops on in with Ariel. The one terrorist who somehow is still alive has conveniently wandered and found Delling and Minore, and goes, yeah, you're gonna die. And Minore gets ready to shield her father from a bullet, as Suletta pops in and goes, no, and splats the dude. And then she gets out. And then she gets out of the back. Is like, "Hey, what's up?" And she is just covered in fucking blood.
Smiling, covered in blood.
Smiling.
No. She gets out of the back and she trips into the blood. So she catches herself with her hand, and then she sits back up and goes, "Oh, I'm so clumsy, tee-hee. I come to save you, my wife." And then sticks out this bloody hand that's just like face scooping blood like in the area.
And Minori
just smile on her face.
And we end on Minori going, "You're a murderer!" Cliffhanger.
See you in season 2, guys. Wasn't that fun?
Gundam, haha. Am I right?
Remember when we were in school 2 episodes ago? Me too.
Yeah.
Gundam do be Gundam. I mean, outside of the stuff that we usually talk about, I mean, it's important to just say, music, animation, everything's still phenomenal and beautiful in this episode. On top of it, God. Here you guys go. I know Mason's seen it because I sent it to him. I figured you might appreciate that one. What a great show they've built here. Do we just want to run through all? How do we want to do? Do we want to run through the other 2 and then talk all together about?
I want to talk about this one.
Yeah, what are things you guys want to say about Gundam? Oh boy.
Okay, every single show had a good episode 12. Every single one had a good close to the show, and I thought for sure coming into this week, I was like, you know what? Probably 1, 2, 3. This show, we're good. This fucking show flipped everything on its head with that last 10 minutes. Where it's like, oh, he killed his dad, and oh, she's just gonna kill people now with no remorse. Because Minori's gonna push back, and she's just gonna go, "What do you mean? I moved forward. I gained 2. You and your dad, 1, 2. Like, problem solved." Like, this show's fucking nuts. Like, I was really like, I think the show's good. I think it was really a great watch, but the last episode was just like so buck wild, unhinged that I was just like, what happened to the school part? what happened to? We're gonna learn how to
It's-
pilot Gundam and
It's
make
fine.
friends.
They'll
Like,
just go
was
back to that like nothing happened.
was
I'm
commit
sure.
murder on every Earthian on the make friends list? Was that on the
Apparently.
list? Did Splat make the list? But in all seriousness, like the show was really good. This episode was like outstanding. Might be my favorite like episode 12 of the 3 shows.
Yeah.
I think all 3 episode 12s do something very different. I think depending on
and very good for their shows.
yeah,
individually.
yeah. God, I wish I had better things to say about Gundam.
It just hurts
Over-
to watch now.
Overall, I think the stuff that really lets Gundam shine is its set of characters predominantly around Suletta and Minore, as well as some of the other like student council-esque characters, Alon, Guel, and Shattuck.
We got Alon in this episode who just checked his phone, went intergalactic war activated, and he's like, "Oh, better stay out of that one." Like,
Alon was like, "Oh, hot damn, shit's happening. I don't want to deal with Earth
happy birthday to
terrorists."
me, motherfuckers!
Which begs the question, I can't even tell you if that was the new clone Alon or if that is the original Alon in that moment. I have no idea.
It's the clone.
It's gotta
He's
be
at
the
school.
clone.
He's at school.
The real one sometimes hangs around at school.
He hasn't. Not the entire time.
He's
So
always
it's always
the whole
he's
time.
always at their base,
He's
right?
Yeah, he's always been at Pale. He's never been on the actual school. It's
Yeah,
always
there
I'm
we
been
go.
so uncomfortable being like, time to make another clone of myself. Like, it
Just remember, this is all Shattuck's fault.
really is.
Technically
he-
speaking,
he's
it was
like,
his idea.
Good. Oh
I
man.
love the fact that Shattuck in the previous episode is just like, yeah, no, I know Solana and Miorne are there. I know Nika's there. They'll
And?
get out. They'll get out. They'll figure it
Also,
out.
by the
It's
way,
fine.
go ahead. Nika totally just like outed herself.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, to be
like-
fair, she thought no one was watching her, which she maybe should have checked before
no,
she did.
didn't give a fuck if anyone was watching her. She thought everyone was gonna fucking die, including herself. Because they're about to blow that spot to smithereens.
Yeah, but everyone
Um,
like leaves the room, so I think it really to me felt like
They
she
would've
was like
died.
well no, I think it was a matter of her going, I need to do this, but also feeling more comfortable because no one was in the room with her. Because she could have just done it right away. She waited until people left. She waited as close as she fucking could to almost getting blown to bits. So I mean, I do think an element of it was being uncertain whether she should reveal that. And she did, and the reason I say that I don't think she intentionally did it to reveal herself is because she is surprised when he's fucking standing there. And it's like, Nika, what did you do?
Gundam was very good.
I'm very good.
Extremely good episode. This is a very good culmination of what has been happening in the show.
Yeah.
I'm ready for us to get actual like, oh, we're going Gundam now.
This would be like if
Like,
Code
This is
Geass
like this is
did.
such a part where like the show could just like skip like years.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah,
I should.
this
It
moment.
shouldn't. That'd be crazy. It would be. This would be like if Code Geass took 5 or 6 episodes to ease into the whole Lelouch becomes Zero and murders people in a chess-like game of mech warfare, including one of his brothers. But instead, he just does that episode 2, and it's fine. You know, they let you know what you're getting into. And to be fair, the prologue did give us a good idea, as did a couple of other parts of this show. That we weren't gonna stay all happy-go-lucky. The only way that could have been worse was if she sang happy birthday to that motherfucker before she slapped him. Kill count still flawless.
God, like, there's just so much happened in this episode. It was actually so
Yeah.
nice.
No.
But yeah, I mean, like, it's hard to say much about it. It's just like, outside of like just summarizing the plot, if you've watched the show, it just tells you how fuck wild this episode was.
Yeah.
And it all happened in 30 minutes. And the most important thing happened after the credits rolled. Very cool show.
And they have the audacity to give us a nice little see you in April fucking nice little photo of
They have the
Sulette.
audacity to have last episode before this where they're playing this cute little cat and mouse tag game of like, I love you, please don't leave me, you're my best friend forever, and then go, oh, you're a murderer. Just kidding.
Look, they got a bit of trauma to work through. It's okay. Hey guys.
Tomato.
Chainsaw Man.
All right. So this episode of Chainsaw Man, it's the end of the Katana Man arc. So we start off where Aki's getting murdered.
Right. I completely forgot about this. How could I have forgotten? It's kind of one of the whole points of the episode.
And then he just wins.
So Aki is getting choked out by the ghost devil, and he has a like flashback to the first time Himeno asked him to smoke. And he's like, fine, I'll do it, but it's really fucked up of you to try and get a minor to smoke. And she goes, you're a minor?
Give that shit back.
Give that back. I'll give it to you when you're ready to make it, to have an addiction. And then it cuts to the ghost devil dropping him and handing the first cigarette that she was trying to hand him to him. And he just walks up, he takes the cigarette, and then walks up on top of the ghost devil and decapitates it. And then the snake devil girl is like about to kill him, and Kobeni comes behind her and just like almost kills her. They take her in. And then we have Denji and Power moving through this building. Power ends up going onto a floor with zombies. Denji tries to stop her. She doesn't. Moving on. Denji runs into Katana Man, and he's like, hey man, I'll make you a deal. Just like, give me your heart and no one else has to die. And Denji's like, fuck you, dude. I don't want to do that. I want to live. I actually have an actual life now, thanks to not being with your deadbeat grandpa. And Katana Man goes, fuck you, we're fighting. And they fight, and it's a really sick fight. Like, to anyone who thinks the CG is bad, why? This fight's really good, even with it being CG. It looks really good. So that's Denji ends up beating him by actually like thinking for once. He gets his arms cut off, gets him to try and attack Denji, gets Katana Man to try and attack his head, and then kills him by pulling a chainsaw out of his leg, and slicing him in half. He ends up like tying him up to a train tracks to wait for the cops to come there. Aki walks up and he goes, all right, dude, we're gonna have a contest. Let's see who can kick his dick in hard enough that he screams loud. Who gets him to scream louder? And Aki's like, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? We're doing a job, not getting our sick kicks in. And he goes, but he killed Himeno, and Himeno would think this is fucking hilarious. And Aki's like,
good point.
You right.
All right.
Good point.
All right, what do I win? All right, what do I win?
One of my favorite fucking shots from the manga is the Aki
him
pulling
rolling
his
his rolling his sleeves up and goes, all right, what do I get if I win?
And he's just like, well, his nutsack, of course.
So you get the nut.
You get the testicles.
Denji can't
You
offer
literally
him
get
anything
these nuts.
else. Aki owns everything Denji owns. Aki is basically like the sole provider for Denji and Power.
Yes.
Like a matter of fact, it is.
Yeah.
And then after that, we find out that Snake Devil lady gets killed because I don't know, some shit happens. She just fucking dies. Like, Kobeni didn't kill her or anything. It's probably just something to do with the contract she had with the Gun Devil. And that's basically it. Like, they move on. They have a nice little a dinner party thing between Power, Denji, and Aki. Aki smokes the cigarette that Himeno gave him.
I was gonna say Aki broods on the balcony for a while.
Yeah, because that's what Aki does. And then we get a teaser for a character that shows up in the next arc, who I love, and I'm very excited for that arc because goddamn, that's
she's the
such
bomb.
a good arc.
That quote's also very good. That they do the stinger with.
I feel like I'm missing stuff, but I really don't think I don't.
There wasn't
I mean,
too much.
the fight takes up a lot of time.
Yeah.
And it is the core of the episode, is that fight. Which I will say, I love the entirety of the fight on and in the train. I think the rooftop stuff is not its finest action. But it won me back over pretty quick, in terms of like visually and like cool combat stuff that they could do with the action. But yeah, I wasn't too big of like busting through the the building, going onto the roofs, getting to the train, but everything else from there on looked really great. Fight's really good. I like Aki, so this episode I think does a lot that I enjoy in terms of bringing closure for him and Himeno. I mean, the show's fucking beautiful. Yes. Even outside this episode, like obviously the show's beautiful. It's directed in a way that absolutely fits and matches Fujimoto's style. It's just in terms of a piece of art, Chainsaw Man might be the best thing we have on this season of the podcast.
It is directed in a way that it's like a Western movie, which is exactly how Fujimoto wanted it to feel, which is nice. If
we were grading shows purely on how many EDs we had, no show would ever beat Chainsaw Man.
Never.
True. Maybe.
Yeah, there is.
K-On! Might beat it. K-On! Has like a different one each week that's all an insert song.
I mean,
so this
High School of the Dead also technically would if we ever had that
insert song multiple times.
Okay, yeah, technically,
but K-On's 90-something episodes, so like
technically, Eminence in Shadow also has a different ED because they do a different woman on the puzzle pieces. But
Funny Girl Senpai has a couple.
Yeah,
but it's
or 5.
5 at the movie.
I really like Chainsaw Man. Again, I think its action's really, really good. I love its characters. I don't think that's changed. Yeah, I think this does as good of a service as you could physically do to this for this manga in terms of an adaptation. In terms of like a standalone anime, I could understand this finale not feeling like it has a lot of stakes to it or is like as grand as some other shows that are around this season. Don't know what else to say about that though. Like I don't think you could do it better. I don't think there was a better stopping point than here, without making the adaptation sloppy. And as a standalone, I think it's really good, and I think it will only get better once people have more of it, to watch, along with this. That's kind of where I stand on it.
It's one of those things where Chainsaw Man's really good. I think this section of the story is very good. It is what gets you hooked into continuing into the later parts.
Yeah.
But this is not the section that makes it one of my favorite manga of all time. Later parts are. It's still very good. It's just not like, holy shit, this is the greatest thing I've ever watched. It's really pretty. It's really good. These characters are great. I don't know. Chainsaw Man's just very good, and it's very hard to rate it, having already read it. It's one of those weird things where, it's a really great adaptation. I'll give it that. It's an almost like one-to-one perfect adaptation. Exactly what you wanted out of it.
I think it definitely pushes the limits of both mediums in terms of manga and anime, and what you can do on a manga panel versus what you can do on an animated work. Yeah. I think sometimes there's a very few moments where it's a little disjointed for either of them. Because, like I said, I finished it and then I went back and read it. I wrote down some of my thoughts beforehand, just so I knew I was going to want to read it. And so it's I thought that this last episode was a little bit lacking in terms of Aki's stuff, because it feels like there's a lot of tension built up for Aki's part here, and then it was kind of just over out of nowhere. It felt like, right? Because it's it seems like oh, how's he gonna get out of this? And the answer is it just let him out of it, and then they let him kill the Ghost Devil, and then they just won the fight because Kobeni was there, right? Which is fine and all, but it's like it removed a lot of the tension that was there for like a very dramatic scene and a very important scene, but in terms of like an action-oriented show, it was a little like disjointed from what you're expecting, like watching episode 11 into watching episode 12, right? It felt like the tension just got let go. Which of course I'm guessing like he saw that future, you could argue.
I don't know how I don't know how you'll feel about this, John. I personally think, in terms of Chainsaw Man, all of its large fight resolutions are less about
out of the norm.
The actual fight. Like the fights around all the big confrontations are always phenomenal and always great, but like the resolutions are always kind of like they're a lot more toned down than I think you would expect.
There's no big climactic like scene or big climactic part. Like I was like the Denji scene has that in this episode where it's like that it cuts him in half, and it's like, oh, okay, that's sick, it's badass. But like going forward, and having read it, like a lot of the fights, like you're saying, like they don't have that big climactic like a gotcha moment where I win because of thing, right?
Yeah.
Like an anime style fight. It's more of like a story, and it's like the story reaches a conclusion, and that is it. And like you are left to like deal with all the stuff that caused the situation to begin with. And all the character-driven focus. I think that's really interesting. I don't know if that comes through as well in the first season of the anime as much as it will like in the later parts when like you're used to this kind of telling, where it feels like this particular arc kind of ends on like a note where it's like it has that anime ending for Denji, but not for the other character, right? And like we said, we blitzed through a bunch of character introductions the episode before too, and I think those are all really interesting characters, but none of them are important for this season, if that makes sense, right?
No,
like, they're basically just background characters to get you ready for the next arc without like telling you they're going to be in the next arc, right?
While also calling the zombies. Fine. You need someone to call the zombies in the meantime.
You need someone to kill the zombies. You're right.
I feel like my biggest complaint I would have if I was watching this fresh would be that I think I would be upset that power doesn't play a bigger role in the finale of this arc. But I think that's
power feels like a main character that doesn't do anything.
That's also my opinion about her in the long term. Is that while I love her and I adore her, I don't feel like she ever really gets her moment in the show.
She has one.
Yeah, but
not for a minute.
There's complications about that. I don't want to get into that too much. We'll save that for like if we want to do long form discussion about Chainsaw Man.
I think like that's the cool thing about Power is like as a character, like she has a super long build up to that big payoff, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is, as an anime viewer, you don't have that payoff at all. Like it just feels like it's just like, oh, how is she gonna just find her way out of the big conflict this time, right?
I just think as someone who is probably getting into it, I would view Power as like a really cool, really great character who also has really cool powers and is supposed to be really strong. And she kind of just calls zombies the whole episode, which like I get it. We don't really have a lot of people for her to go deal with, right? Like you really do just have Katana Man, Snake Girl, and even then you don't necessarily. I think that's one of the things about this is you don't get a satisfying conclusion with Snake Girl, and that's intentional. It's supposed to tell you that she's not the thing that's really important in this setting. The thing that is important is Katana Man as an existence and the Gun Devil. And that's what I think this first kind of big arc conclusion is supposed to tell you. Is to highlight how important Denji is and to give you some kind of closure for Himeno.
We got the eyeballs last week, right? Eyeballs was last week.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean like I said, like I think this episode was good, but I think it's like again, like it's a really good last episode, but I think it's a little outshined by other two shows this week, weirdly enough. Which is crazy to say because Chainsaw Man's overall season, like this episode was really good. It's just like the other shows had like really high highs for me. I like Chainsaw Man, fantastic read. Go read it. It's amazing. It's like one of the best like uses of a page you can see in manga, but it's very hard to read on your phone. You can't get as much out of it reading it on your phone. I think paperback, it would be amazing. I think like even reading it on a browser where you can spread like a widespread 2-page on some of the sites would be really good.
Fujimoto.
Reading it on your phone, which is how you basically can read it for free on the Viz app, like they give you like one free read of every chapter. Very cool Viz app, thank you. Then one of the main ways to read it without like paying for it, like it's hard to like you need that widespread view, I think, to truly appreciate just how amazing some of these like frames are. Because like how they use double panel shots, it's like nothing you've seen in like manga before.
Yeah, I
with
think
all like the details and all the specifics, but
I think
Fujimoto is a master of like
using the page.
using the page, and specifically like one of my favorite things, or one of my favorite gags, I guess, would be from Chainsaw Man is when they're in the bar, when Himeno and Makima are there, and they're like, "Aren't you gonna kiss me?" or "Who's kissing who?" And in the manga, there's the panel of Denji with the exact same face both times, going, "No, I'm not gonna kiss anyone," and then Himeno going, "But aren't you gonna kiss me, Denji?" And he goes, "Fuck yeah. I'm absolutely going to do that." And it's the same exact picture of Denji, both like top and bottom, and it's wonderful. And you don't quite get that.
I think the only manga that immediately pops into my mind when I think of styles like, or when I think of using the page in a way that's so incredible as Fujimoto is Berserk. I mean, because that shit's fucking unhinged, untouchable almost, in my opinion, in some of its
Kentaro
paneling.
Miura is was one of the most incredible illustrators I've ever seen in my life.
I've seen page spreads. I don't know what's going on in them because I haven't read Berserk. One day, I will find a way to fight through it. But boy. But there are a lot of pages that in Chainsaw Man that hit that way as well. But yeah, season 1, I feel, and this is the tricky thing, right? I feel, I use this comparison a lot because I think it's a show that, if you've watched both, you feel similarities between both of them, is this and JJK. I think if you cut JJK at episode 13, I would feel about the same way as I do about Chainsaw Man about it. I think because JJK got to run longer in its first season air, it feels like a stronger of the two shows. But I think if it was a fair 1-to-1 comparison, or if Chainsaw Man had another 13 episodes right away, people would wind up walking away feeling very similar to Jujutsu Kaisen as they did Chainsaw Man.
It'll be interesting to see how they pace the next like season of JJK or of
well,
Chainsaw
that too, but
I think that's a big thing too.
Hey, Chainsaw Man feels like it should be adapted into a total of like 32, 33 episodes, which doesn't exactly work for doing a 12-episode done thing.
They could.
I mean, obviously,
they
fight
could,
scenes are going to be longer, so a lot of the fight scenes are like super short.
It could be like a season 2, part 1, part 2.
I was like, they could movie it, but
like
I don't think that's
in
right.
the manga, when he jumps into the Eternity Devil, it's actually like 2 pages.
Yeah.
And it's like a 6-minute scene in the anime.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing though, is like it's a cut in the anime between like day 1, day 2, and it's like over.
No, but
like,
you still get like a minute or two of him sitting there and slashing. In the manga, you literally see him jump in, and then it goes, "How long has it been? Oh shit, we're done."
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. Like that's the cool thing about like the adaptation is like I feel like they did a great job of like stretching it where it needed to be and like squishing it where it needed to be too, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like it's very interesting what you can do with like the different forms. And I think like Chainsaw Man's like a really good, like almost a master class. I'm like, here's what you can do in anime, here's what you can do in manga. And they're two very different things, but they fundamentally tell the same story in very interesting ways. I think it's both really interesting.
I feel this way.
I'm glad at least one of us hasn't read it, which is a conversation we'll get into next season. Not this season coming up, but the next season we'll have to get into.
Yeah, for spring.
About a certain show that we're all hyped to watch with a 90-minute intro.
I stand by. I think for Oshinoko we should do, if we're gonna do something for it, we should do it separate from this, because I just don't think it's gonna. I think you are going to realize how difficult it is to converse about a show that you've read.
Well, I know.
In this, well, like with a bunch of other people, where like, nah.
We had such a hard time not spoiling shit.
Or just like finding things to talk about that, like because a lot of this podcast is that fresh experience of a show and how it hits you on a week by week. And I will say, having this be, having this be like the first big time for me that it's something I've read has been interesting. I'm excited for next season because there is a show I plan to pick that I have read, but I think that's going to be a very different experience because it was a 4-panel compared to Chainsaw Man.
Yeah.
But I'll have to see. I don't know, and maybe it's because this adaptation is so good that it does kind of just feel like it was taken like it doesn't feel like I walked out of the manga and said I want to see how the anime does this, and then saw the anime and went, oh, it breathes some new light into the characters. No, it breathes the exact same light into the characters as I had when I read the manga, which I think is very impressive in its own unique way, that it feels like they are adapting one medium to the other so well. But it's like there is sometimes where I play something or read something and I'm like, I do want to see how it gets adapted because it might be different from how I perceived it while reading. This was not very much so, at least so far. Later it might prove me wrong because later is later in Chainsaw Man.
That was dope. But yeah, I think again, I'm glad I had that experience of watching it before reading it. I think it's definitely a different experience than going through all this because you can really go through it fast reading, first of all, and secondly, it's just a different feeling to it. That's why my thoughts is after watching it, I was left a little bit disappointed with the last episode in a sense of it felt really and it's over to a degree, which now after reading it, I'm like, okay, I get it. I'm a bit more satisfied with that because I get that's just how this is going to be, and this is how this world is designed, and that's fine. But as a fresh anime watching, it does feel a little bit off pace, because the two characters operate so differently, and they have very different levels of satisfaction in how their conflicts have been resolved.
I will say, I think maybe one thing that the anime might be doing, I think the anime almost makes Aki feel more in line with Denji as the main character, as opposed to the manga, where I think it always felt like Aki was a secondary character, even if he was very important. Like Denji,
it's very, very Genji focused.
Yeah, whereas this show, there are a lot of moments where I'm like, oh yeah, oh, we're really rocking Aki, and so maybe that might be the one thing
I think
that
it's
I think
also
stands
because
out.
of knowing what happens in the manga with characters, you don't think of him as much as the main lead because of what happens after in the future stuff, and how things get split up, basically how we split the party, we'll say.
Yeah. Anything else for Chainsaw Man, boys?
No, I mean Chainsaw Man good.
Chainsaw Man good.
Chainsaw Man good.
Chainsaw Man good.
Chainsaw Man Tuesday.
No more Chainsaw Man Tuesday.
Soletta Sunday.
John, talk to us about Bocchi the Rock.
So Bocchi the Rock's last episode, we left off at the start of the school festival. We get 2 songs here. The first song goes well, okay. Seems like it's going fine. Something's a little off with Bocchi though. Bocchi's got a bum string. She can't get a string in tune. And then in the middle of the start of the second song, her B string, I think it was, breaks. And so she has this big solo in the song, and it's oh fuck. Oh no. It's so doomered. And then she ends up using it's called bottleneck playing, where you just basically use a clear object to hit all the strings at once, basically. And so you don't have to worry as much about I forget if it's fingerings. You just don't worry about fingerings. You just strum the different strings. I'm not too familiar with guitaring. I had to look it up myself, but she does a cool guitarist move. Is all I have to say. And then they're good song, great job, Bocchi. And then Bocchi decides to stage dive, and no one catches her.
That's what happened.
No one. We
dive
no
in the
one.
Middle of not
And then and knocks herself out. And now she's known as the badass rocker chick in school. But she goes home and she's okay, gotta get a new guitar. And the family's it's okay. We think it's time for you to get a new guitar for yourself, honey. It's okay that you broke Dad's old guitar. Here's 300,000 yen, which is $30,000 to buy a new guitar.
We monetized your YouTube channel.
It's 3,000, but yeah.
Is it really only 3,000?
Move it over to.
Yeah.
100 yen is
You're right.
$1 essentially.
True,
It's
true,
like
true.
86 is like the
Yeah.
exchange rate, at least it was like 2 years ago, but 100's the easy number to think of.
Yeah, it's very close.
Actually, like 77 now. God, Japan's going downhill, boys. But would that mean it's better economy?
It's better
Slower.
economy for them, worse economy for us.
That sounds about right. But either way, Bocchi gets her couple grand from her ad revenue money from Guitar Hero because it's a shared family account. And the family's like, we're so proud of you and how good you become, but we're also a little disappointed with how good at lying you've become. And so she decides to go shopping for a new guitar, and she's gonna do it online, but of course we gotta go in person because that's more funny.
Also
get
makes
some
more
great moments.
sense, I feel like.
Yeah, you gotta handle the guitar before you buy it. So we go to this job, and Bocchi, so nervous, just starts headbanging in the doorway.
It's
Shop manager's like, is this person's first guitar? No, it's not person's first guitar. She's just that nervous.
Bocchi's like, yes, it's first guitar. And they're like, Bocchi,
Oh,
no!
beforehand, Bocchi realizes how much money she made. She's like, I could pay for my fees for like 2 years before having to work again. I could quit my job. And it's all smiley. And then gets to the manager and goes, I can't quit my job. I can't quit my job. I can't quit my job.
God. The resolution to this bit in the manga is so fucking good. I won't say anything, but it's so good.
So they go out and get a new guitar. We get some funny scenes like I forget her name. Fucking is it Itsuka, the blonde one, Nijika. Who's like, wait, is this how the lonely drummer feels in the band who can't do anything in the guitar shop? She's like, maybe I'll get a guitar too, and it's just this visual of her like with like the dumbbell guy, super buff, just smacking guitars on the drum.
I forgot about this.
Yep.
It's been so long for me since I watched the show.
I had to be watching. I gotta remind you how good these bits were, dude. It was so fucking funny. But basically, she gets a guitar. She buys the guitar, and the person at the shop's like, "I'm so glad someone bought this. I've been working with this guitar for so long. I'm so happy it's in good hands." And she's like, "All right, here's your receipt." And she just fucking leaves out the door without the guitar. But then, like, they're walking together. They give her their guitar, and then they're like, "Oh, what should we do next? Should we get lunch?" And you just have Rio just go, "No," because we know Bocchi wants to get home as soon as possible to play her new guitar. And then we close on a scene where Bocchi's in her room, ready to go to school. She's looking in the mirror with a new guitar. She's like, this looks cool. And then sees the other guitar in the mirror and goes, I'm so sorry. I'm not cheating on you. I swear to God. But yeah, it was a really good episode. It was a really cute end. I was really, really happy with how the school festival went. I thought it was really cool. I didn't know what bottleneck guitaring is, but it seems pretty sick. And like, well, it's not like very fancy, like technical. It looks really cool.
Fun fact, it is actually a very technical thing.
And it's actually a really technical thing, but like
playing slide is its own entire separate way of learning to play guitar.
Yeah.
And the idea is that a slide, normally you have either a metal or glass cover that you put on your finger, but a bottle works the same way. It does the same job. It's just a little bit harder.
It's probably even harder because it's a rounded object instead of a flat thing to hit the string.
Well, no, it's round. It's literally
a. Oh, that's crazy.
It's basically a thimble, right?
Yeah. I posted a video vaguely about slide guitaring. I only know about it because, fun fact, Seven Nation Army, its guitar solos are done with the slide.
For glissando effects and deep
some of-
vibratos that reflect the characteristics of the human singing voice. It's used
But
primarily in blues guitars. Cool. But
the show's great.
yeah, it's like it is a very technical thing, but it's like it's not something you'd expect from a rock band. And it's a good like catch all of like I can't really use this string, therefore we'll just cheat to make it sound different.
You weren't ready for it.
But like she's smurfing. Thank God one of her friends is a drunk bassist who brought alcohol to the school festival and left the bottles on stage. But yeah, I mean, I thought this episode was really good. It basically summarizes the entire show where it's like they play music. It's really good. There's progression in the characters. You see it in Kita in this episode is what they highlight because she like covers for her for like 10 seconds so she can like mentally recover and figure out what she's gonna do with the solo. With the string breaking. And my favorite part about this entire show the entire time, and I'll say it every time they start playing, is the animation when they're playing is so close to like perfectly accurate that it like it's so satisfying as like a former musician. Like watching the drums be in the right areas. Even in the right areas, they don't have to be perfect. They just be in the right areas. Sometimes they'll just be like randomly fucking going across. You're like, that's not how that. No, but like hers is always, if she's hitting a symbol, there's a stick up hitting a symbol somewhere, usually in rhythm too, which is bonkers. And you can see it especially when they start the second song, because it starts with Nijika on the drums, and like it's just perfectly in sync, and you're just like, that's how drumming is. That's how that looks, and it's super satisfying. And shout outs to the staff. I mean, this is a lot of people's like first major project for a lot of these staff members, and it is absolutely bonkers that none of these people have been on any other thing. Like with how talented a lot of these people are. From like the voice actors to the directors to the animation crew and everything. Like, this is a fantastic show. There's a reason why it was considered one of the best in the fall. I love it.
The show is an absolute passion project by a bunch of people who are just a fan of the manga. Because the manga itself isn't like super popular. Like it's pretty popular. It's still running.
It's a mid-tier 4-panel gag manga.
It is like 60 something chapters out right now. 61, I think people were saying. Which means we have enough to get probably through a season 3 at this point if they were to keep going.
Yeah.
Because we got to chapter 21 in these first 12 episodes.
Oh wow.
But yeah. But a lot of the stuff in the manga, like a lot of the bits don't exist in the manga and are anime original. And it's so good that this is just a passion project by people who went, yeah, we really like this thing.
We can be funny.
Congrats.
And they actually are.
Congrats to a comedy for actually winning me over almost straight away and keeping with it the entire time. We know how I am on this podcast with it. I don't know. There's only so much you can say when a show decides to model its main character in Blender and slam her through a bunch of walls.
They do a simulation of her ramming through a bunch of fucking brick.
There are so many scenes in this show that kill me. The music's incredible. The show just looks good. They do so many crazy and wonderful things in it. I knew this show was. I knew where the show was gonna be for me in relation to top 3 pretty well when the start of this last episode started, and I got that anime feeling in my bones that I get when like a show's like reached something and done something that really feels like it's earned it and like kind of hits like a good like emotional like beat with me that I really enjoy. And their performance as a band at the start of episode 12 is for sure that kind of moment for me. That isn't to say that I don't think the show has some area where it lacks. I think out of our 3 shows, it probably is the only show that had an episode I did not like. Because I was personally not a fan of that mid-break where they go to the beach and they do all, and like it was by far the most filler feeling episode to me. And I expressed that the week we had it that I wasn't a big fan of it. But I also think it does a lot with a very small cast. Keeps it very confined in a way that I enjoy. It is really difficult to decide where I wanted things, but I figured out in the end how I felt, and I'll give a little bit more insight on that, when we get there.
Yeah. I will say, like, for me, this was like probably the best like comedy slice of life show I might have ever watched. Like, as a comedy, I think it might be the funniest show I've ever watched.
I mean, yeah,
like, I don't think it's particularly close. It's like a better K-On! In every way. Is the best comparison, because it's like Moe music show, slice of life, the comedy bits, the characters, and the music itself. You could argue even.
Surprising amount.
It's a little bit different style than K-On!, but like,
the surprising amount of drama and like character that exists in these cute girls do cute things characters is incredible. Was an incredibly refreshing surprise from this show. It's a hey me show, and it's not a good way. It definitely fully expresses the loner mentality though. Mm-hmm.
Great. But
this show does such a good job having the main character not be a loner. She's not an introvert. She's very much a person who wants to interact with people, but doesn't know how, and struggles immensely with being social. And I like how this group is for very different people on that spectrum, because you have you have Bocchi, who wants to talk to people sometimes but can't. You have Ryo, who just doesn't like talking to people. You have Kita, who loves to talk to people. Then Nijika, who's just fucking normal. She's like the most normal character in the thing. And when I first watched this show, I was like, Nijika wasn't like it wasn't like high on my list of characters. She just kind of is there. She's normal. She doesn't do anything like special or crazy. She just kind of vibes. I started rewatching the show to show it to my sister. Nijika's the fucking MVP of the first like 4 episodes.
Everyone's so grounded.
She pulls Bocchi out of her shell like 5 times. It is so good. She's amazing. Also, she has a bow, and that's wonderful.
Also, shout out to all 4 girls making the top 10 anime girls of the season at some point. As they should.
Shout out to Yoroi, Hiroi at Yora. I don't know what the actual name they used for her is. Bassist for being literally, drunk bass for being literally the best character in any anime ever.
Oh my god, she's so fucking.
I love her so much.
I finally found a video that compiles all of the anime references in the show. And the one where they're all gathered drinking together, and it's that like dark and blue shot of Bocchi, that I was like, I feel like I should know what this is from the art style. It was Ippo. So or it's Ashita no Joe. I think it's Ashita no Joe. It's one of the boxing shows. And the amount of times this show references Ava is insane.
Yeah, there's so many Ava references.
It pops up so often. I'm like, guys, what are we doing? This is not what I was expecting.
Guys, we need to watch the video of the anime references and each find what was your favorite bit in the show. What was the one that made you like either cackle the hardest or just you just enjoyed the most?
I mean, if it has to be one that's an anime reference, the bird attack one's fucking hilarious.
One was so
the crow
good.
attack one was good.
If you told me that was an Ava
Yamcha death references,
if you told me the crow attack's an Ava reference, I would not have believed you.
Wait, it is?
I'll find the video. I'll find the video for you. Yeah, no, it's crazy.
Let's not forget the fucking fading away reference where she just fucking turns to dust.
I do think that this cast also, I mean, I think they're a good representation of what Michael said, but I also think they all also then push, that kind of social view that they all have a little further. Like they're all a little more intricate than that. Like Vio's very like music nerd, like old scene geek who like gets super invested and won't shut up when she finds the thing she really loves to talk about. Nijika gets to fill the role of the person who is of this group probably the most robbed of her childhood in a way. Like she does seem to be the one who had to grow up the most out of this group, or at least feels that she had to make up for her sister losing that. And I mean, and Kita, I think, has a really interesting thing that we haven't really gotten to, which I think is that her character, especially in the last 2 episodes, it feels like the show is really trying to tell you, like, yeah, she's popular and she clicks with everybody, but there's just some things she's never been able to do or feel like she's wanted to do that have always felt out of reach, and one of those was Bocchi and music. Because it makes an implication that Kita's been watching Bocchi before they met, like behind that staircase, with the way they do the school hallway shot, where it frames it like she was like, oh, I want to talk to that girl who plays music so bad, but I just don't know how to. And that's coming from the extrovert of the group. I really do like. Shout outs to our girls this season for being all types of anxiety induced messes across all 3 of these final shows. Shout outs to Gobeni. Shout outs to Suletta. Shifurgetta. Shout outs to Bocchi. No, this show's really good. Well, guys, you have time to do your ordering, your votes if you haven't. It's been up. In the meantime, we're gonna do a couple of things. Favorite song from Kisoku Band. I can also just be from the show.
Mine was "If I Could Be a Constellation."
That one's really good. I do like that
Mine
one.
was the second one of the school festival that leads in with the symbols. I don't know what
if
it
that's,
is. I don't know what it's called.
I do believe, if it's the second one played at the school fest, that is I Want to Be a Constellation.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think that is I
Yeah.
Want to Be a Constellation.
As it should
Yeah.
be.
And mine is very much up there as a tie between Seisun Complex and I Want to Be a Constellation.
Yeah.
So as much as everyone loves I Want to
it's
Be
it's a tie between Constellation, Seisun Complex, and Blue.
Guitar
Well,
Loneliness
that
and
is
Blue
Blue
Planet.
Yeah, Lonely is Blue Planet. Yeah.
Yeah, those
That-
are my top three as well.
That song's really good. I'm actually a really big fan of that band. I actually really like that song.
It's also really good. All of their music's good. And
It's
that's the real
good.
issue.
But like, go ahead.
Yeah, it is. I Want to Be a Constellation.
It's the Constellation sticks out. 'Cause it's the most like different feeling because it has like the very distinct guitar ding 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 ding.
Guitar Loneliness, Guitar Loneliness and Blue Planet is also has something like that, where like there is something about, not at the beginning of that song, it takes a little bit for it to kick in. That like when that song kicks in, you're like, fuck yes, this song rocks.
And it was the first one they made as a band.
Right? Yeah.
Canon. It has like that nostalgic feel to it. And then the opening just fucking slaps.
So if we're talking about just songs that they play, it's If I Could Be a Constellation. If it's songs from the show as a whole,
Hey, Watashi
It's the sick hat.
Dakeyude is
it's the Sick Hack song.
Give
Watashi
me-
Dakeyude
Release
is
the sick
Okay,
hack.
like that's not.
Release sick hack. Give it to us.
And
Give it to
people
us.
are saying it's going to be released when the Blu-ray version of the show gets released in
Oh.
April.
Oh.
Oh,
Because that's going to come with a full CD with everything, which is going to come with a full version of that song.
God.
I don't know where people are getting that information.
This is
'Cause,
like
people are like I've seen like the release thing for the Blu-ray, but I'm not seeing anywhere on it that it's like, oh, it's coming with the full version of the Sick Hack song.
I think it's because a lot of people. I think it's because a lot of shows do this. We'll be talking. Maybe we might be talking. We'll see about a show that also released all of its music after when it came to like a physical release, as it should, plus an entire extra bonus disc of music that wasn't in the show.
So I was looking up the track to make sure it was what it was called, and a video popped and recommended. Someone made a Clone Hero chart of that episode, and so when her string breaks in the thing before the solo, you can't use the orange button anymore. For the rest of the song, there's no orange buttons.
That's really
Um,
good.
And that's such a good charting.
It's so
Not
good.
how it actually sounds, but like it's just so funny.
And now it's
Um,
time for our favorite game.
Also, big news for Lions fans: Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator, sticking with the Lions. Let's go. Big hype.
Time
People don't know
for
what
our
that means.
favorite game.
Guy who called plays made us into top 5 offense. Stay with team. Very good.
We get to continue to run my bits. This time, a new bit: Slay Counter. Who do we think slayed the
Slay
most
counter,
shows
slay
this
counter.
season?
Slayer.
See, normally I'm a pacifist, but I know I actually slayed a lot of.
I think it was
Shinobi.
Michael this season.
Yeah, it's weird because I'm normally like by
Okay.
far the least, but I was fucking murdering Shinobi every fucking week.
I feel like if you get the average amount of slays per week from Michael, and then like get the average amount of slays per week from me, I might be close.
If you didn't miss 2 weeks, maybe
Yes.
that does hinder you here. You have 2 weeks.
I slayed a
where there
lot of
was no
shit
slay.
early on. I slayed a lot of shit.
But I mean, I couldn't see you in those 2 weeks slaying more than 5 shows, which still wouldn't be enough to put you at
Oh, no.
Michael. So
Yeah.
Mason and Michael are tied at 10.
Oh, really?
Which means, sorry, not Michael. Mason and John are tied at 10. I don't know why
Okay.
my brain auto completed that. So John would probably have a couple more, but Mason, that means you were basically shooting 1 show a week, maybe 2.
Yeah,
at a
because
point in
that's what I
time.
do.
Yeah.
Like I occasionally shoot 2, but like most of the time I just shoot the 1.
I had slayed 13 shows. There were a couple of weeks where I wanted multiple gone. And Michael had 16 slays. Almost 2 a week. Almost. We're not quite crazy yet. Now it's time for our favorite game. There are 5 shows. I did not do the individual breakdown for each of us of what was where this time, just because that was a lot, and we jumped into this real quick. But there are 5 shows that have first place finishes. Can we figure out what 5 those are?
Bocchi the Rock.
Bocchi the Rock,
Gundam.
Gundam, Chainsaw Man,
Sword.
Sword, and Eminence.
Nope.
Not Eminence.
Blue Lock hit number 1.
Blue Lock. Yeah.
Blue Lock.
Yeah,
Blue
my
Lock.
Blue Lock I think was in 2 number 1s. Like
Nope.
for
Yeah.
separate
Blue Lock-
people at different.
Blue Lock and Sword both only appeared once in the number 1 slot.
Were they both Sean?
I think Blue Lock was me. Sword, I think, was you.
Sword
Oh
was
yeah, it might
you.
have been me.
Sword was you because you put it week 1.
You were, yes, that is exactly it.
But
You
it's
were
really
the
good, this one.
champion of that. I think the Blue Lock episode for me was the Chigiri episode.
Yeah,
I think that's
that
the one I
tracks.
put up top. I don't. It was that or one close to it. With that in mind, Gundam first place 5 times. Bocchi the Rock first place 9 times, and 54% of the time being the first place show. Chainsaw Man 19.
Yeah.
So yeah. Moving down, second place. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shows. Can we figure them out?
Bocchi, Chainsaw Man.
So it's the same
Gundam.
5, I assume.
It's the same 5 and then Eminence.
What if I told you you're wrong?
Uh,
So we take our top 3. There you go.
Oh, did Sword never hit 2 or something? I mentioned like Sword specifically only hit 1 and then never broke 2. I know Blue Lock 100% had to hit 2
Correct.
at some point.
Blue Lock did.
Blue Lock, Eminence.
Yes.
No.
Wait,
Okay. Yeah.
No.
Not Eminence. Okay. Hold on.
Yeah, I imagine it was some dumb shit where like I
Yeah,
put do it yourself at 2.
So yes, the past 5 all on here. Swords there, but there's then one more.
that's
This
not wrong.
This is not going to help you. I put this show there.
Was it Ursi Yatsura?
It is. It's the episode of Ursi Yatsura I really like.
Yeah,
It
I
was
had like
the
one
one
good episode. I
episode-
was like, I guess I'll give it number 2 before it gets murdered.
Yeah, that was exactly
it was the
what I
one
did.
episode that was really fucking good.
So
out of
again,
nowhere.
Blue Lock, Ursa, and Sword, one time each in that spot. Gundam, another 5 times in second. Chainsaw Man, 8. Bocchi the Rock, 19 again. 54% of the time, sitting at that second place slot. And then finally, third place, 6 shows. Obviously, or top 3.
Our top 3, Blue Lock, Sword, Eminence.
There you go, you got it. That's them, baby. Eminence 5 times, Sword 4, Blue Lock 2, Bocchi 3, Chainsaw Man 5. 5 or 6. I don't. That. Either way, it's not relevant enough to change it. Gundam 15 times. 42% of the time it was third place.
Yeah, that tracks.
Our top 3 was very, very much our top 3.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
like,
is
it
it
was the
going to
same-
be the top
Which
3
is
in
it
that
gonna be
order?
in that
Is
order?
the question. Will it hold
It's so
through?
tough. This is so tough. I'll be honest. For me, at least. I don't know about you guys.
I made my decision.
I made mine.
I did a while ago too, but
Oh yeah.
I stuck with what I originally was gonna put. I think like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, for me, this is very much my number 1 has been decided for a while, and number 2 and 3 were certainly like a, I don't know. It would have been a little more cut and dry if a certain show didn't absolutely fucking
Off the
slap
fuck
with
off.
its 12th episode.
Yeah.
I would have been like, okay, this is easy, and it went, nah, fuck you, we're gonna have one of the best conclusions
yeah.
to this entire build-up.
Each of us had the same thought. Chainsaw Man / Bocchi is 1. Chainsaw Man / Bocchi is 2, and then went, oh, Gundam will be 3, right? And then and then at the end, and then we're like,
Gundam
we
will
watched
be
the first
3,
two-
right?
And we watched the other 2 shows first, and we're like, oh yeah, that's how we thought. This show is still my favorite. And then you watch Gundam, you're like,
Fuck.
good.
Gundam
But,
was
like-
my second. I
Like,
watched
when I looked at
Bocchi
the
last.
entire my logic is when I looked at the entire show, that's where I determine my place mix. Like I gotta rate this the entire season. I can't just pop off on the episode 12 because they were all good. The question just became, was that episode 12 good enough to make that show better than my second place show? Or even my first place show? Because it was fucking sick. But only Sean knows. Sean's doing deep math. Honestly, if there's a season where it's gonna tie, I feel like it'd be this one. But I feel like someone's gonna cave. Someone's gonna cave and move one show higher than another show, and it's just gonna be It's gonna be it. You know what I mean? Who had Gundam, by the way? Was that Sean?
I did.
Did Sean low-key, out of nowhere, became the dark horse of this finale?
So, there is a 1 point difference between all three shows this season.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
So there is a max total, like we said, every show, you give one show a 1, a 2, a 3, they get 3, 2, or 1 points, which means there's a total of 24 points overall across the voting. So, and we can discuss who did what. I know you guys were, we can discuss who did what as we went. Basically, I'll let you know in no particular order. One of our shows had 2 number 1 votes. 1, 2, 1, 3. One of our shows had 1 number 1 vote, 1, 2, 2 3s, and our other show had 1 1 vote, 2 2 votes, 1 3. So they really are perfectly 1 point apart, and the graphs are really funny to look at.
So me, Mason, and Sean each put our shows at 1. And then it was up to Michael.
This breaks.
Wait, if that happened, then I know what wins.
This breaks down that Chainsaw Man is 3rd place with 7, Gundam is 2nd place with 8, and Bocchi is 1st place with 9.
Damn.
Chainsaw Man finished 3rd.
So there are a couple of ways this could have changed. Some things here could change. If I would have put Bocchi below Chainsaw Man, that would have also adjusted this in a way. But no, so I put Gundam first. I thought about it a lot. I think overall I really like Gundam as a collective show. I think its characters are really strong. I really enjoy its setting, its art style, its music. Its fights are incredible. It fucking blew me away with its last episode, but it also blew me away with its fucking first episode and some of its middle episodes. There were a lot of really high highs for Gundam, and there wasn't really a low that I could personally pinpoint for me with the show. I really do like Bocchi the Rock. And before Gundam's episode aired, I was very heavily thinking of putting Bocchi first. And even going into this podcast, I was still thinking about putting Bocchi first. But I just thought about it and I was like, I love the show. It's great. I just think Gundam got me more. Overall. And then with Chainsaw Man, I just think it's that, I think it does hurt having, in my opinion, I think it does hurt me when trying to look at all 3 of these shows, having read it, and then getting the experience secondhand as like, this is what it's been adapted to now, because I don't get that fresh new feeling for it. And I think it makes it easier to put other shows above it for this season of it. I expect this show to fucking blow a bunch of shit out of the water in the long term. For Chainsaw Man, I absolutely adore it as its source material. I think it's wonderful. So that was how my breakdown went. And for me, I do think that there were a couple episodes of Chainsaw Man where it's like, yeah, we're just moving things along. It's fine. It's doing its thing. And I think, for me personally, I think Chainsaw Man's best fight is the Leech Devil fight. This season, which is phenomenal. That episode fucking blew me away. I was fucking jaw dropped, speechless. Cool. But I think I also wanted a little more from its action. I mean, the Aki Katana Man fight's really good. That episode, the scene with Himeno is really good in that set. Kobeni fucking clowning on some noobs as they are in their getaway car is great.
She didn't play DDR this season. That would have put it over the top for me.
People aren't ready for her to play DDR.
No dates this season.
People aren't ready for DDR. But no, I generally walk out of it like, I think as much as I say that I think it's good an adaptation as it can get, I do think there are some fights that I'm like, I wish I had a little more from. And that might just be that Chainsaw Man fights are so quick. But that's where I sit on the 3 shows.
Gundam, like, as a show, just wasn't wholly better than Chainsaw Man for me, and so I couldn't put it second. I thought about it, But like, I spoke way too highly of Chainsaw Man all season to put it below Gundam this year. And Bocchi the Rock, like I said, it was the best comedy I've ever watched. Chainsaw Man might be the best show I'll watch once it's all done. Like next to like One Piece or something. But like for its genre, what it does, like it is like really a close to like a masterpiece in art form. In like its manga usage and all that stuff, like I said. But Bocchi the Rock right now is the funniest show I've watched, and it is the best comedy I've ever watched. So it's like it's not even close. And like I don't know, I thought it was really good. So, and it's my show, so of course I'm gonna be biased. Like, come on.
For me, I put Chainsaw Man 1, Gundam 2, Bocchi 3 because I thought Chainsaw Man was absolutely fucking incredible the entire time. Yeah, it definitely had like episodes that were slower than others, but like I think it was absolutely incredible the whole way through. I put Gundam second because I loved Gundam from start to finish. And wow, that last episode definitely blew me away. And I think for Bocchi, like, while it absolutely was one of the funniest shows I've ever watched, it just didn't hit quite the same for me as Chainsaw Man and Gundam did. So that's why I put it at third.
See, for me, it's literally just that, but the other way around. Because Bocchi is one of my favorite shows I have ever watched. It hits exactly the way I wanted it to. Mm-hmm. The music, the entire way through, slaps.
So good.
The comedy, almost all of it hits. And I think the dynamic of these four characters is done so well. They are such well-written characters, just the four of them. And you have all these side characters who also have their own dynamics. You have the sister, who is a really deep character. You have Hero, who's her own entire deep character. It's just so good. You have four superbly written characters for this comedy that just randomly throws super well-written drama at you.
Yeah.
And it goes, yeah, I know this is exactly you. Fuck you. It calls you out every fucking 5 seconds.
I do think...
You know this reference. You're a fucking weeb. You know this shit.
I do think on a technical level, I do think Chainsaw Man's the best thing here. I do think... I want to... On an artistic level, I would say. It's very interesting. I think on a passion level, I think the passion for Bocchi shines the strongest. On a technical level, Gundam, I think, has very little wiggle room or flaws in its presentation. And on an artistic and like creative level, Chainsaw Man's a brilliant masterpiece. All three of these shows are winners this season, really. They're absolutely incredible. The 1 point difference says it all. It really came down to like personal preference in the moment. And fuck, I think if you asked me next week, I might give you a different answer on my top 3 for this season. Like I don't know what to tell you. I don't. I'm really excited to see where all 3 of these shows go. Hopefully, a sequel for Bocchi. Whenever Chainsaw Man decides whenever Mappa decides they can work on Chainsaw Man with all the other shit they're doing. And you know that April comes and I will die. Thank you, Gundam. But yeah, that knocks it off. Congrats, John. Your prize is nothing but the Discord title still. You don't get any additional bonuses in picking your next show. I don't care what anyone says. The winner does not get to influence the show they get to pick next season.
Saying,
we're not having that dominance.
First pick is won. Albeit it wasn't my first pick that won, but I had first pick and I won. So I'm just saying,
I was gonna say it definitely wasn't your first pick.
No, your first pick was definitely not it.
I think this is like one of the last picks in the entire thing, right?
Yeah, it is.
My third pick. Didn't I pick near the end?
Second to last, I think.
Second to last.
I know I was last pick because I had a 50-50 Bocchi and my master is a no tail, and you picked Bocchi, so I didn't have to make the 50.
I was gonna say I think it was Bocchi Bibliophile Master.
Either way.
Yeah, because my third pick was Shinobi, so.
Yeah, I think you were at the front of the pack for that one.
I was first.
Yeah.
Either way, you can't keep getting away with it. I outsourced my opinions for shows that I should pick.
Oh, you won't be getting away with it this next season, John. I guarantee you.
I got a source. I got a source who's got some information.
You will fail. I will say, I will flex my muscle and say also, God, Sword was really good, and I'm very happy it got as close as it did. And in a different season, it would have been top 3, but also, like in a different version of this season, it would have been top 3, but also it would have assuredly been 3rd in that top 3, hands down. Like it just doesn't. There is just such a technical difference between these 3 shows and Sword. But God, it does what it wants to do really well. With that in mind, I am gonna end stream and then bring it back up with a new title so that we have a new VOD for picking shows. So we will be back shortly.